welcome to the February 6th morning session of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to welcome each of you in attendance, another full crowd. It's good to see you here. Also, those who are watching the live stream, welcome. And if you're watching it now or watching it later, we appreciate you tuning in. As is customary for our meetings, we will open with the prayer and the pledge. And I've asked Commissioner April Stevens to lead us in the prayer, and will be led by American Legion Post 346 of Four Oaks in the pledge. So if you would, please stand.
Dear Lord, we just ask that you be with us today as we move forward making decisions for the county, Lord. And we just ask that you be with everyone in attendance and everyone watching online. And we just ask that you guide us with wisdom and courage that you give us to do. And we just ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Attention. Present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there any need for any discussion on any items?
Mr. Chairman, I move the agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Next up, we have the consent agenda, and there are, let me do the math on this right quick, 6 items on the consent agenda. First is approval of the minutes from our December 5th meeting of 2022, both the morning and afternoon session. We have several additions to the DOT system. We also have appointment to the Town of Kenly and Town of Micro planning boards. And we also have adjustments to the agenda in our Health Department, Sheriff's Department, Social Services, and a special appropriation. And then finally, we have our tax releases and refunds on there in the consent agenda. Any of those items need to be removed for further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as stated.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next up, we have the State of the County address by the chairman. And I will say before I want to thank the staff of Adam and Ben for their work again this year on putting that together. It went much smoother with I don't know if not with me, with them this year. They helped a lot. But I do want a couple of things that when you watch the video, I want you to remember that in March we had a strategic planning session, 2 days, and I think that was probably the first one in a long time. And I think it made a difference. And some of the priorities we set this past year were infrastructure, education funding, financial stewardship, public safety, land use, and county employees. Those were the 6 priorities that we set. And I think as you watch this video, you will see in each one of the items that we discuss that there's a thread of 1, 2, all 6 of these in the things that happened in Johnston County last year. So we will meet again this March to do the same thing. So again, I'm proud of what this board has accomplished. Doesn't mean we don't have challenges ahead of us, because we have those with the growth that we have, but this board is very interested in making Johnston County the best it can be, not just this year, next year, but for decades down the road. So with that, I'll turn it over to our PIO office and roll that, I guess, say bean footage.
I'm Johnston County Board of Commissioners Chairman Butch Lauder, and I'd like to thank you for joining me for another State of the County address. I'm pleased to be able to present to you just a few of the many accomplishments and achievements we've had over the county level in the past year. One of the biggest undertakings we've had as commissioners in 2022 is working toward the implementation of a new comprehensive land use plan. This plan will provide a framework to help guide growth and development in Johnston County for years to come. After 4 public forums and 6 steering committee meetings, we will hold our final public hearing in the coming months and hope to adopt the land use plan later this year. We continue to see steady shared growth across our region with some key economic development announcements over the past year. Do Good Foods investment in the Selma community, the Life Science expansion project at Nova Nordis in Clayton, Edgewater's 500,000 square foot Class A distribution facility in Benson, and the construction of the Al Nair Industrial Facility in Smithfield are just a few of the examples of how Johnston County has proven itself as an attractive destination for industries across the nation. County leaders are also looking down the road to find creative ways to bolster job growth. This is evident in the recent approval of $17.5 million in local funds to help with the construction of a new workforce training center in 4 Oaks. Several studies to plan for future growth were initiated in 2022. A critical regional infrastructure study is in its first phase, which will help lay the groundwork for public utilities to determine future water and wastewater needs. Phase 2 of that study will begin later this year. A countywide pay study was approved in the spring of 2022 and implemented last fall to help maintain and attract quality employees. County staff continues to provide unparalleled customer service that our residents have come to know and expect. To better accommodate our staff and service providers, a space needs study was completed in 2022 and will help guide the creation of new county facilities in the coming years. The grand opening of the new Johnston County Detention Center and Public Safety Center is on the horizon. The 115,000 square foot state-of-the-art detention center provides much needed space for the Sheriff's Office, while the Public Safety Center, which is slated to open in summer of 2023, will help expand and centralize our emergency services operations. The county remains in solid financial standing as the Finance Department continues its work on the 7-year capital financial plan to better forecast long-range future capital needs for the county. In November, voters approved a $177 million school bond referendum that will fund construction of a new high school, a new elementary school, and several individual projects across the county. The next month, Commissioners allocated additional funds to enhance security measures at all Johnston County public schools. Residents can rest assured that school safety will always be a top priority for our board. The board helped Johnston Community College take a big step forward in 2022 by ensuring high school graduates have every opportunity to advance their education through the implementation of the Johnston County Commissioner's Promise Program. This program supplements state grants and helps bridge the gap in tuition fees not covered by federal Pell Grants or other state funds. We continue our focus on future parks, greenways, and open space opportunities after successfully holding multiple community engagement meetings for the new Johnston County Regional Park in Cleveland. As always, I'd like to express my gratitude to citizens of Johnston County for their steadfast support, as well as to the Board of Commissioners for their commitment and dedication to the county. These accomplishments would not have been possible without the tireless efforts of our incredible county staff who are committed to delivering high-quality service to every citizen who calls Johnston County home. Thank you, and God bless.
Good job, Mr. Chairman.
I will say, what we ended with is the employees of the county, the staff, and the work they do, because they interact with the public every day, and we can't thank them enough for setting the table for us to do the things that we do by the quality service that they provide. And with that, I want to thank the board too for us working together. We don't always agree on everything, but I think, again, as I say, I think we are working towards the same goal and improving things in Johnston County. So any additional comments on the state of the county? Not necessarily the video. All right. All right. We will move on next to public comments. This is a time for any audience member who wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda to come forward. I will ask you, when you come forward, to state your name and your town or township that you're from. And just remember to stay in front of the microphone. If you tend to wander, please stay right at that microphone so we all can hear you. And I will ask you to maintain proper decorum and make your comments in a civil manner. And for both the public and the board, just a reminder that it is an opportunity for us to listen to comments from the public and not to engage in discussion or debate. So with that, Mr. Johnson, if you would come forward and state your name and your town or township.
I'm Benton Johnson. I'm board of director for Blackman's Crossroads, chairman of the board for Blackman's Crossroads Fire Department, and I live in Ingram's Township. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Board of Commissioners pertaining to Blackman's Crossroads Fire Department. I'm chairman of the board and a retired fire chief. My dad and 3 uncles were founding members along with other neighbors in our community. Our department was built by our community and is deep-rooted in our culture. In October 2020, Mr. Hubbard met with Blackman's Crossroads firemen and our chief. Chief McClam met with Hubbard on 12/10/21 and on 2/14/22. On 3/1/22, our board met with Mr. Hubbard and Ryan Parker to discuss our current situation and suggestions to improve our department. Since the beginning of September 2022, we have been meeting often with Kevin Hubbard and Ryan Parker regarding our response times and number of certified fire personnel. Our board of directors met with Mr. Tony Braswell, that reports to the over fire and EMS to the board, and discussed our situation, and he thought we were headed in the right direction. Around the same time, we started receiving part-time paid firemen from Meta Fire Department while encouraging our community to volunteer. These were part-time paid firemen that they had a surplus of, and so they were gracious enough to send them to us. We also instilled within our roster the importance of maintaining training hours as well as working to improve response time. October 3rd, board meeting with Kevin Hubbard and Ron Parker to discuss updates and progress towards improvements to our operation. We wanted to understand next steps as change doesn't occur overnight, but we were making positive progress. On October 28th, we held a meeting with surrounding fire chiefs. All were in agreement that mutual aid was not a burden, but personnel issues were a problem for 3 departments. November 15th, Hubbard and Parker met with our board and gave an update and was given an update on the progress made. Hubbard requested that we revisited it in January of 2023. After 2 months, on January 17th, we met with Hubbard and Parker. After giving them an update on the progress we continued to make, he stated he was there to pull our contract immediately and transfer to 4 Oaks Fire Department. After a much heated debate with the board, we came to an agreement to keep the contract until June. January 26th, we met with Hubbard and Parker. His recommendation would still be to terminate the contract June 30th and not renew. After speaking to several commissioners and county employees, I'm here asking for our community to be given a chance. I'm asking for more time from the commissioners to make sure we can survive and be a sustainable volunteer fire department. Thank you for considering my request to extend the contract with Blackman's Crossroads Fire Department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for y'all's service for what y'all do. My name is Kevin Massengill. I'm a resident of the Blackman's Crossroads community. I live in 4 Oaks. I'm a retired detective here from the sheriff's office. I'm not a fireman, but I am on the board as a citizen at large in the community, and I have seen the struggles of volunteers in every department, statewide or nationwide. But I have seen a positive progress in the last 4 months. It's been really encouraging on my part to see the volunteers coming together to get a renewed interest. And what I've seen is a lot of almost they've been at a point, it's like a stalemate, because of the problems that we have had with a former employee or chief there that, had some criminal charges, but we were trying to get past that. And, volunteers nationwide are really hard to come across. And these guys are really turning it around. They're getting their hours. We are actually meeting contract now with the minimum standards on volunteers. And I foresee that we're actually fixing to put more on there and get those trained, but it does take time to get them trained. And we have not had no response calls since we really started to buckle down and get new members. So our response times have been really good. I think the records would show that. It would show that we have not had no response. Some other volunteer fire departments have, but when we ask who they are or are there any others in the position that we are, nobody knows, or we're not provided with that information. But I'm here to show support for the volunteers, and I think it is sustainable. But we need a little bit of help from the county, and I think we provided 396 signatures of support, not a petition or anything like that, just signatures of support, that hoping that y'all would consider helping us and not canceling the contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Gerald Lee. I'm past Board of Directors Chairman, and I would like to say that I can't give my whole spiel in 3 minutes, but I'll try. And our department has come a long way, and I would say that we are much stronger department today than we were a year ago. And we have met everything that Mr. Hubbard has requested. We have one item that we can't prove we've met because we've not had a structure fire or 3 structure fires to prove it. But we have met everything. And the fire department is a cornerstone of our community. And we would like to keep it, and we have proved that we can keep it and sustain it. And I don't know what else I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name
Morning.
is Joshua Weber, and I work with Blue Line Aviation in Smithfield, North Carolina here. I just wanted to take time to thank you for your continued support in our efforts to train the up-and-coming generation of pilots. We're working really hard over there at Blue Line to...
What was your last name?
Weber. I'm sorry.
Weber, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I didn't catch it, thank you.
1B, not 2.
Oh, okay.
But we're just working really hard over there at Blue Line to train the next generation of pilots, and we do continue to run into issues with the airport authority, and we're working hard to negotiate with that. And we would just appreciate your continued support in our efforts to continue to build with Johnston County, to bring in revenue to the county itself. Trey was unfortunately not able to be here today, but he did want me to pass on a message that he did forward an email to y'all just here within the past half an hour that this morning we received vindication in the form of a letter from the Federal Aviation Administration, which Trey forwarded to you all a few minutes ago, showing the airport authority in violation of multiple federal grant assurances by discriminating against Blue Line. So we stand ready to partner with you to fix this airport and stop these discriminatory practices that we're running into with the airport authority. So we're working hard with our students, working hard to be good residents and good business people with Johnston County. We do appreciate, again, everything that you do to support, and we look forward to working with you continually. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, didn't see anyone moving. Madam Clerk, were there any emails to acknowledge? Okay. All right, we will move on then for a presentation on our audit report for the year ending June 30th, 2022, and we'll turn it over to Chad McLean for introductions.
Yes, today, Mr. Alan Thompson from Thompson, Price, Scott and Adams will kind of make a presentation of our audit for 2022. I really want to thank our staff. Tyson was the one that organized it this year, and then Martha and all of our staff back there. They do a wonderful job, and I can't say enough about Alan and Brandy and their team and how they work with us and give an in-depth review of an audit of what we do in the county. We appreciate their feedback, and it makes us stronger. So I appreciate everything that they do, but I'll turn it over to him, and thank you for your support as always.
Well, good morning to
Good morning.
everyone.
Morning, Alan.
You should have in front of you the audit report itself, but then a smaller book, the presentation summary, which I'm going to jump from if that's okay. And if you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 1, I'm going to read some highlights, et cetera, and then run through some of the numbers, if you will. I do want to echo what Chad said. The staff was very cooperative. They're very good, very competent at what they do. We're very grateful for all their support. And then I do want to say this to you as well. The main thing you do hire us as an outside independent firm to do is issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. We issued unmodified report, which is a quote-unquote clean report. It's the highest level of reporting you can get. Having said that, on page 1, there were no significant audit findings. There were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. On page 2, there were no uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated January 24th. When aware that management consulted with any outside accountants, auditors, etc. Again, no other findings or issues. We did have a few things we wanted to mention. GASB 84, which is an accounting statement about fiduciary funds, technicality, and then probably Alan being me, a little work. I'm not the fondest guy of P cards, so that's probably Alan talking there. Just be cautious. And then on the Medicaid, there's always a couple of technical findings with every county we do, and I think we do 27, but no question cost, meaning no money involved in that. On page 4, if you will, be kind enough to flip over to that. I don't say these are all the key numbers in the audit report, but these are some of the key numbers in the audit report. And what we attempt to do is put these numbers on the left-hand side and then to give you some context so that you can get a feel for it. And it's not just a number hanging in space, but also to give you a feel for trend information. We put the 4 previous audit reports there to the right of that. And you can see total fund balance in your general fund there at $212,520,000. If you go back to 2018, you can see where that same number is $73,721,000. Unavailable fund balance at $30,222,000. Other restricted at $18,782,000. Total general fund expenditures $306 million. And then fund balance available as a percentage 59.52, and you can see where that number is 25.28 if you go back to 18. So not only rising revenues, rising expenditures, rising cash balance, but your safety, if you will, has increased as well. Revenues over and under expenditures before transfers and contributions, a positive $44.7 million in the general fund. Water fund was a positive $904,000. Wastewater is $3.1 million, and water district operating fund is $6 million. Solid waste had a negative $299,000. You can see cash, total fixed assets and accumulated depreciation there for the enterprise fund, excluding Section 8. And without reading through every single one of these cash and fund balance and investment earnings, what I'd love to do is you can see the positive trend on all the funds. The school bond fund and other governmental funds, because the timing of when expenditures are made and they're really not operating funds, if you will, can vary up and down depending on the status of a project. So I wouldn't necessarily try to follow those, if you will, like you would the general fund or one of the enterprise funds. But you can see there in your general fund where you got total cash for $189,417,000. If you go back to 18, $58,288,000. So very positive numbers there. On all your enterprise funds, what you're really tracking is not accumulation of net position, but you want to make sure you got positive cash flow there. So that's the thing you track on the enterprise funds. If you skip down to property tax rates, you can see where they're declining, and then collection percentages. If there's a model for the state to follow in terms of tax collection, Johnston County has it. It's incredible, the percentage of collections. Speaks well for the staff in that department, speaks well for the county, for the citizens, everybody on the tax collection percentage. You see your property valuation and levy amounts there. And then on the debt section on page 5, I do want to try to make this more clear if I can, because it's always a little odd accounting issue. Under the business type entities, you can see where it's $232,839. I hope you can find that number in the first column. It's right above total debt outstanding, which is $549,053. If you were to take that 232 and go all the way to the bottom of the page, you'll see that same 232, and we reduce it by $55,100,000, and that number should be $177 million, or $177 million. The reason it's shown that way is because these lobs are counted twice for accounting purpose, and what we're trying to do is say, even though in the report it's counted twice because that's the standard, the true debt amount is the $177 million. And I can't explain why somebody in the ivory tower said you got to count it twice, but I'm trying to tell you what the real amount due is. So you see your debt there, then right underneath that you can see the total general fund revenues and the total general fund expenditures, going from 221 up to 322 on revenues and 208 up to 277 on expenditures. If you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 6. You can see the nice trend line there on the total fund balance in blue. And then on the bottom, you see where if you went back to 18, the actual group weighted average was higher than Johnston County. But by 2022, there's a significant gap where Johnston County is above the group weighted average. I will say this about group weighted average going forward, because I'm not sure we're going to use it, because I'm not sure it's as comparable as it used to be. The LGC has decided to make it all over $100 million in budget expenditures and under $100 million for group weighted average, so you're not going to have the tighter comparable groups that you may have had in the past. So the usefulness of it is going to go away. You may have to either find other counties of similar size to get some kind of feel for that. On page 7, you see your cash balances and fund balances in pie charts at the top, with the respective total balances for each underneath that. 413 in cash balance, 413 million, and 479 million in fund balances. And then on page 8, you see your collection percentages, which are incredible. And they're above the statewide average, group weighted average, etc. The only thing I've ever seen beat it is a small beach town where they collected 100%. So that's the only thing and when you got 300 residents, it's not hard to do that. So on page 9, you can see debt analysis, school debt as a percentage of total debt, the school debt there being in blue, which speaks to the amount of debt that you're incurring for education, and which I think is 81.53%. And then on the bottom, you see a breakdown of your general fund revenue with 54.7% coming from ad valorem taxes. On page 10, tracking expenditures in the general fund, you see where the largest expenditure is education at 32.37. Then you go, I think, to public safety at 19.2, then human services, and then debt service. We'll say this again, speaks well. In a lot of cases, I'm not sure I've got another county that education is the largest expenditure. So it speaks well for you as a board, you as management. Page 11, if you've been on the board a while, you know the LGC used to send what they call unit letters. They no longer send those unit letters. They ask us if there's anything that the unit needs to respond to put it in the back. We've already had conversations with Chad on this. It was just a misclassification on something, so, but we still have to respond to it. So that's really the only issue that we have, other than the technical findings we found in Medicaid. The status of the county from an audit standpoint, the unmodified report and the numbers speak for themselves as to the strength of it. So if I had anything to say, I think you're in great shape. You know, the challenge is managing what you have, which you already know and don't need my opinion on. So happy to answer any questions. I know it's a big report, but I'm not just happy to answer them now. If you read through it, you got questions, you can always call our office and ask for me. If I happen not to be there, get my cell number, and I'll get you an answer to your question.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes, sir.
2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Explain to me the difference in cash balance and fund balances.
So cash is what you would think. And then fund balance, if it's in the general fund, is the total assets less liabilities. The odd part of the general fund is you're going to have receivables. You don't have fixed asset in a general fund, and you don't have your outstanding debt that the general fund would be responsible for in the general fund recorded. It's recorded in the government-wide statements, which in the bigger report is Exhibits 1 and 2. So what you're really looking at there is any deferred revenues, any accounts payable, et cetera. The fund balance is broken down into several different categories, whether it's restricted, available, et cetera. I hope I'm answering what you're asking for.
So, and the cash balance, cash is cash
Cash is cash.
all around the world.
Yes, sir.
A fund balance could be both cash, accounts receivable, and other assets.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. My second question is on page 9. Is sales tax in the sales and services or in the other taxes?
Should be in it's in other taxes and licenses. And I can get you a breakdown of that gives you more
No,
detail.
that's okay. I just want, so sales and services would be when the county does something and someone pays for it, whereas the other taxes would be, include our sales tax.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, too.
Oh, actually, I do need a motion to accept the audit as presented.
I move we accept it.
All right, have a motion and a second to accept the audit as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have accepted the audit.
I was going to bring something up real quick.
What?
We have gotten, I think for the 10th year in a row, we have got a certificate of achievement for financial excellence from the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. So that's a credit to our staff, our finance staff and everything that they do. They give us a plaque, and then we put little medallions around the plaque. Well, they got to send us another plaque because we're out of room, and so they're true professionals. They're the best in the state. I challenge anybody to go look at a county our size and see they've got 8 people, and I don't count myself because I get in the way. But they're great. They're true professionals, and they deserve some praise today for everything that they do. And I really appreciate them, and they're good people too. So
Congratulations,
I
Junior
wanted
staff.
to say thanks for the
Yeah,
support, but I
amen.
wanted to do that after the audit to let you know that we got another reward. I don't take that lightly because there's a lot of hard work that goes on by that staff to make sure that there's 17 things that are looked at when they look at us in relation to the audit. We got the highest grade for each of those 17 things that they look at. So I appreciate them, and I appreciate your support.
Outstanding work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have a nursing home, adult care, home community advisory board update. And Mr. Parker.
Mr. Parker.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Commissioners. It's good to see all of you. I see some new faces since I was here last, but it's been 3 years.
And you see some
Welcome
old
back.
faces too.
I see some resident faces, yes. But it is good to be here after 3 years and to give you this report. I'll start by the little background on the Community Advisory Committees for those of you who are new. The North Carolina General Assembly in 1977 enacted legislation that created Community Advisory Committees and a comprehensive Residents' Bill of Rights. Members of these committees serve as grassroots advocates for residents in long-term care. The purpose of these committees is to assure that residents' rights are respected, apprise themselves of the general conditions under which residents live in long-term care, make routine visits to all facilities, and promote community involvement, education, and awareness of needs of residents in long-term care. The Johnston County Joint Nursing Home, Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, which we affectionately refer to as the CAC, is made up of volunteer Johnston County residents. These volunteers complete training that's provided by the Regional Ombudsman and the State Ombudsman Program, leading to their certification to serve. Once they're certified, you, the commissioners, can appoint these to serve on the committee. Membership in the Johnston County Committee has held up well during the pandemic. We currently have 14 active members and 6 prospective members. 4 current members of the committee have served 10 years or more. Changes in the training program have occurred in the last couple of years, and they are not yet complete, so we're having some difficulty in training and certifying our new members. The COVID pandemic, which began in early 2020, significantly impacted the activities of the CAC. Committee meetings and all visitations to facilities were suspended indefinitely during 2020. We held our last meeting in February of 2020. During that time, the Ombudsman kept members informed through email communications. During 2021, committee meetings resumed on a quarterly basis. Virtual-only meetings were held in January, April, and October via Zoom platform. A hybrid meeting was held in July of that year when the COVID metrics were down some. We did have a hybrid meeting, and some members attended in person. Visits continue to be suspended through this time. Ombudsman Carolyn Pennington kept members informed by providing email updates on CDC and DHHS guidelines and directives. In addition, information was provided about outbreaks in the facilities, vaccination rates among staff and residents, and changes in key personnel in facilities in the county. Members were kept well informed about their volunteer responsibilities. The COVID pandemic continued to impact the CAC and the long-term care facilities in the county throughout 2022. The committee continued to hold quarterly meetings during 2022. These meetings were hybrid meetings, allowing both in-person and virtual attendance. Committee meetings focused on renewing roles and responsibilities for members, ways to stay connected with facilities and residents during the pandemic, and also some strategic planning as to how we would re-enter the facilities when the COVID metrics were eased. Outbreaks of infections have occurred and continue to occur in many nursing homes and adult care homes at a rate similar to cases occurring in the general population. These levels of infection transmission and high levels of infections in facilities prevented the State Ombudsman from allowing members to visit residents in facilities in the county during the first half of 2022. It was in June 22 that the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program implemented a comprehensive facility reentry plan. The plan contains specific requirements that would prepare CAC members to safely reenter facilities and visit residents. The reentry plan required training in several very specific areas: proper use of personal protective equipment. Webinars were provided to members so that they would be able to view these and learn from these. Training on entering and re-entering and exiting protocols for long-term care facilities, and a requirement to review the core principles of COVID-19 infection prevention. Plan further provided tips for facility visits such as having hand sanitizer and disinfectant wipes, always wearing a surgical mask, avoid physical contact, always maintain 6-foot distance, avoid touching surfaces, and sanitize hands frequently. Based on CMS and DHS guidelines and improved COVID-19 metrics, in July 22, the State Ombudsman authorized the resumption of facility visits by CAC volunteers. By the end of July 22, Ombudsman Carolyn Pennington had completed the required training from the reentry plan for each member of the committee. Member visits to facilities began in early August 22. COVID metrics, including transmission rates in the county and the presence of active COVID cases in facilities, would determine whether a visit would be conducted to that facility. Member observations of conditions found during these early visits were better than anticipated. Facilities seemed to be coping with the effects of the pandemic very well. However, staffing in many facilities continued to be an issue. The Office of the Inspector General for the Department of Health and Human Services recently released the results of a study that examined how COVID affected nursing homes. During the initial surges of COVID-19, hundreds of thousands of nursing home residents became infected and tens of thousands died. A significant finding of this report was that staffing requirements may not be sufficient to protect residents from deadly infections. From these findings, several recommendations were made, including a recommendation for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to re-examine current staffing requirements to make sure that residents receive good care. There seems to be a groundswell of support for staffing reform. About a year ago, President Biden announced a historic set of nursing home reforms, one of which was a promise to implement a minimum staffing requirement. There is also strong support from advocacy groups such as Friends of Residents in Long-Term Care, the Coalition on Aging, and the Senior Tar Heel Legislature for establishing minimum staffing requirements. George Smith and I are the delegates to the Senior Tar Heel Legislature from Johnston County, and I assure you that that's going to be one of our priorities to take to the General Assembly this year. The implementation of minimum staffing requirements would provide a significant increase in improving resident care and health outcomes. The number of long-term care facilities in the county has seen modest increases. There are 32 facilities which provide 1,346 resident beds, of which 226 beds are dedicated to memory care. There are 5 skilled nursing facilities, 11 assisted living facilities, and 16 family care homes. Family care homes are actually adult care homes that have 6 or fewer residents. Some of these family care home facilities that are being built are in upscale neighborhoods. They are custom built to accommodate multiple residents, and most are private pay, being comparable to some of the nicer assisted living facilities, and residents really express high levels of satisfaction with this type of facility. We're optimistic that 2023 will see a return to a more normal time. The committee will hold monthly hybrid meetings, quarterly visits to nursing homes and adult care homes, and annual visits to family care homes will be conducted. We look forward to advocating for long-term care residents in the county. I would like to mention at this point that we have some of our members with us today, James Coleman, Heather Norman, and our Ombudsman, Carolyn Pennington. I will say that this will be my last report as chairman of this committee. I've been here 14 years. We're getting a younger, more vibrant leadership. Heather Norman will be taking over as chair of the committee, and I assure you that she will do a great job. Can I answer any questions for anybody?
Any questions?
I'd like to make a comment, if I may, Mr.
Yes.
Parker. It's sadly, I've been here for most of those, I think probably every one of them 14 years.
I believe you have, yes.
But I want to thank you for your service, and I think if we look from the very beginning, when we started this to where we are now, I think we can truly say we're in a better place, thanks to not only you, but your committee. We have more needs out there, I understand that, Sadly, the population is growing older.
Why are you looking at me?
That's because he couldn't turn his neck far enough to look at me.
I can look either way. But anyway, I want to thank you personally, Jimmy, for what you did, okay?
I'm happy to do it. I'm not leaving the committee.
I know.
I'm still going to stay on
I
the
know.
committee and still do what I can for residents in long-term care, because let me tell you, some of that is a very compromised way to live.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions.
Yes,
if I
sir.
could. You mentioned earlier that one of the problems with these homes is lack of staffing.
Absolutely.
But if we implement minimum required staffing, would that cause some of them to have to close if they couldn't meet that standard?
Well, at this point in time, we don't think so, simply because we've had wage inflation in this
Right.
industry, and it has improved the wages for these people who
Right.
give the direct care.
That's probably the
We
key.
do know that that is the single most important thing you
Right.
can do to improve care.
Right. When I saw on the agenda that this was an agenda topic, I made the statement, what in the world would we do without Jimmy Parker? I appreciate it, Jim.
Well, I appreciate that. But, you know, it's something that I felt like was needed to do. My mom was in a nursing facility for a while. I saw that there was a way that you could make the experience better.
Yeah.
And it's communication between families, residents, and the administration.
Thank you for what you and George do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any further questions?
Commissioner
Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is a request to declare an ambulance surplus. So I'll call on Josh Holloman with Emergency Services to come forward. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you for your time this morning. We are asking your approval to surplus an ambulance that we have, a 2012 Chevrolet diesel. It's no longer meet our requirements to be suitable for emergency response. We also would ask approval in donating this resource to Johnston Community College. Whereas it's no longer usable for us, we feel like it would be a great asset for the college and their EMS program as they continue to train a lot of the EMTs and paramedics that eventually become employees of ours. They have a great initial training program out there that we utilize greatly. So this, of course, will give them actual hands-on, being in an actual real ambulance. And so this just continues the great relationship we have with that group out at JCC. So again, respectfully ask your approval to surplus this ambulance and donate to JCC, and I'll be glad to take any questions you have.
Any questions?
It meets my criteria. It's 10 years old, and it's over 150,000
Mr. Gowan.
miles.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's going to a great program, too, and I can't emphasize enough that that's the program that's training our current and future EMS providers. So we've got to support these programs to continue that process. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adopt a resolution and approve the request to declare the ambulance surplus and donate it to Johnston Community College.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you for your
Thank you.
support.
Thank you, Judge.
Next up, we have our Public Utilities Director, Chandra Farmer, to, what was she got, a Neuse River Wastewater Pump Station Improvement Proposed Budget Revision.
Yes, good morning. You may recall that we have an existing project for our Neuse River Wastewater Pump Station. We've completed a preliminary design with our consultant. They've identified a detailed project scope that will achieve additional capacity at this site and a relocated station. This is an existing wastewater pump station on US 301 in Smithfield where it crosses the Neuse River. You may have seen that little brick building there that looks like it's on an island. So this new project we're excited about. We need to replace the station and we need additional capacity. The proposed detailed project design here is $953,000. We're proposing to fund that from our sewer fund 68 balance. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, but we are recommending the budget revision.
Any questions?
When do you anticipate the new station? I mean, with the design, do you have a target date for?
We hope to be able to complete design before the end of '23, get it under construction late '23. Construction could be 12 to 18 months. I just got an email while I was sitting here from an electrical supplier talking about lead times on equipment. and it's really not getting better right now.
It's a big problem. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the project budget and associated budget revisions for the Neuse River Wastewater Treatment Plant improvements detailed in the project design. I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Farmer. All right, next up, we have appointments to three of our boards. Make sure I got that. Nope, I'm gonna go back to four. Four boards, and it's a little convoluted. We have some boards that have the same number of applicants as we have open positions, such as our Economic Development Board. On our Planning Board, we have 5 positions and 11 applicants there. And then on the Airport Authority, we have 1 position open with 5 applicants. So it's become our custom for those boards where we have more applicants than positions open. You have your ballots at your seat, so we'll fill those out and turn those in and announce those results this evening. But for the other 2 boards, for the 1 position on the Health Board is for a nursing position, and we have 1 nurse applicant for that. So I would need a motion on that one, and I would also need a motion for the Economic Development Advisory Board. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we appoint Kathleen W. Lank to the Board of Health to represent the nurse position on that board.
all right. We have a motion and a second to appoint Ms. Lank to the Board of Health representing nurse. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Did
their appointment is-
you want economic development, did you?
I was going to ask, since we got that one, let's get the economic development for a motion to approve those appointments as well, so. And I guess there's waivers involved in that, so I don't hear a motion. All right, we got a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, so all in favor of the appointments to the Economic Development Advisory Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The board nominations are approved, so we will complete the other 3 boards with the multiple applicants this morning, and again, share those results this evening, so. Let's see where we are. All right, now we will ask Ms. Andrews to come forward and update us on our delinquent tax collection report.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Before you have the December collections report. As you can see, our numbers were, percentage-wise, we're down a little bit from the previous year, but overall collections were higher than the same time last year. It's been an interesting few weeks as we finished up timely payments. And as we have rolled into now that everything is for 2022 is late as far as payments go, we have just sent out delinquent bills, slightly over 10,000 of them. So I would imagine that will get a lot of this caught up, as there is quite the traffic on the other hall this morning as people have gotten those lovely red bills in the mail. Last month, I told you that we were starting online listing. That was a new service for us. I wanted to report to you that that went very well. For us not to really advertise it, to not publicize it, it was on the bill, it was on the listing forms, and we had just short of 15,000 people, or maybe I should say property owners that ended up listing their taxes online, so, or their property online. So we're very pleased with that for the first year. It went very well, and, we'll now be looking at it to see how we can improve it for next year. So, again, you have the December collections report from you. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I have a comment. Thank you so much for keeping us in such great shape. I'm getting all these accolades from our auditors and whatever. Looks like we're on top of the world when it comes to tax collections.
Thank you. I heard those comments a few minutes ago. Needless to say, that's the smile right now.
Well,
And I immediately called my collections manager. I said, "Did you hear?" And she was like, "I don't have time to hear." And needless to say, it had already gone to voicemail twice before I could actually get her on the phone.
Well, I'm saying, so she can go back in YouTube and watch it.
Well, hey, I marked the time. It was at 10:25.
Okay.
So there you go. I am, as I say, I'm the face of. They're the ones that do the work, and I'm very thankful that I have such a great team on both sides of the hall.
When Mr. Thompson commented about that, about how good our collection rates were,
I had a question for him about what was the average, in other counties. But one of the sheets he gave us shows a weighted average of about 99.34. So as opposed to 99.9.
And it's interesting, y'all, different ones of you have asked me about that in the past. There's such a delay in us getting the numbers that we can actually look at from the state treasurer's office. And so when they do come out, we get notified they're there. I'm always going there pretty quickly and looking at them, and we're always, we're always very close to the top, if not the top. I will say the closer you are coming out of a reval, you're not going to be at 99% because somebody that's under appeal doesn't have to pay, and we can't force collect and all that. But again, the citizens of this county take their responsibility seriously, and we're very thankful for that. It does help our job.
Yeah.
One thing that got me when he said the standard ought to be Johnston County.
Yeah.
That's pride.
Thank you for your service and your staff as well. And I also want to add that it's largely also because of the citizens of this county that just want to do the right thing. And they're, everybody takes that seriously, and I'm very appreciative of both sides. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next up, manager report and comments. All right, I'll turn it over to board for board reports and comments.
I'm seeing a lot of reactions to our allocation for sewer. I'm thinking we're starting to see some response from these towns, the ones that already got their letters. So I think it's going to be a good thing. I think we're going to see if things move forward, and if we keep our plan on schedule, which may be very hard with the current status of delivery. But I think we're going to see some great things happen in our infrastructure in the next year or so.
All right. Anything else?
I represent our board on the hospital board, and the hospital foundation, of course, I think we passed a resolution last month recognizing February is Wear Red to support heart health. So I just want to remind everybody, wear red during February.
I missed that today. Anything else? I will say, since you mentioned sewer allocation, and we all have a policy that was given to us to review, so we probably need to get that done so Ms. Farmer and Ms. Slusser can move on with that. And I'm in the same boat as all the rest of you, so let's get that done. But I don't have any other comments to make, so I'll look for a motion to go into closed session. I don't anticipate we will have any action taken, so I look for the motion to go into closed session.
Okay, I move the board go into closed session for the purpose of consulting with an attorney employed by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area pursuant to NCGS 143-18-11A4, and to establish or instruct staff concerning the negotiations of the price and terms of a contract concerning the acquisition of real property pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A5.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to go into closed session, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We'll be in closed session shortly after we get the room cleared out.